A lot of players from the late 90s and early 2000s tend to be forgotten. Between the MJ era and the Kobe Shaq Lakers three-peat, many all-stars have fell through the cracks and have faded away from the minds of NBA fans. One name on that list is Antonio McDyess. Most remember him for being a key role player on some Pistons and Spurs teams, but wouldn't know he was a 20-10 machine and was one of only 6 players to put up 20-10 in 1999 and 2001. And he was somebody Rasheed Wallace said was damn near impossible to stop. But you never hear his name brought up in NBA circles. So how good was Antonio McDyess? If this is your first time on the channel, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. You are here with your boy Q Hicks. Now let's dive into it. Throughout high school, Antonio McDyess was a dominant presence. He finished his high school career putting up gaudy numbers of 26 points, 15 rebounds, and 5 blocks at Quitman High School in Mississippi, and ended up being a top 30 player in the nation in the second team parade All-American in 1993. For the next phase in his basketball career, he decided to play at the University of Alabama, where they were starting to develop an NBA pipeline, most notably Latrell Sprewell, Robert Horry, and Derek McKee. So if McDyess showed off his dominance in the powerhouse of the SEC, he would be next in line. In 2 seasons at Alabama, McDyess would average almost 13 points, 9 rebounds, a block, and a steal a game, collecting multiple accolades. SEC All-Freshman Team, 2-time All-SEC, and All-SEC Tournament Team in 1995. But he wasn't really noticed by scouts on most of college basketball. But McDyess would make his name known during the 1995 NCAA Tournament. He would have a monster performance against Penn in the first round, finishing with 39 points, 19 rebounds, 2 blocks on 16 of 24 shooting. That was Antonio's best game of his career, and he really put the NBA on notice. He even followed up that performance with a 22-point, 17 rebound game and a loss to Oklahoma State. But he showed he was a pro and a top pick at that. He showed off his extreme athleticism, his scoring ability in the post and in the mid-range, and his defensive presence was on display. And McDyess was deemed to have even more upside by scouts. He went from a guy that dunks a lot to an unstoppable force. McDyess decided to leave school after his sophomore season and enter the 1995 NBA draft, where he would work his way up the draft boards. In a recent Kobe video, I brought up that McDyess was the only player to beat a high school Kobe during a draft workout for the 76ers in 1995, which included multiple top picks from this draft. It obviously shows how good Kobe was at a young age, but how skilled McDyess was to keep up with him and be the only prospect to beat him. He would end up being selected second overall by the Los Angeles Clippers, then traded to the Denver Nuggets on draft day. He would be second in one of the deepest draft classes in the 90s, including Jerry Stackhouse, Kevin Garnett, Rasheed Wallace, number 1 pick Joe Smith, and the eventual Rookie of the Year Damon Stoudemire. It only took a few preseason games in 1995 for McDyess to establish he was a rising star and have people calling him Sean Kemp with a better jumper. In his rookie season, he had a good year, averaging 13 points, almost 8 rebounds, and 1.5 blocks, ending up on the first team All-Rookie. He was a rookie, but really played like a seasoned vet and showed great skills on both sides of the ball. In his second year, McDyess took his game to the next level. His points jumped from 13 to 18, and he was 15th in the league in blocks at 1.7 to go along with 7 rebounds. But the team would go 21-61, so many didn't respect the stats. After the season, Dyce was looking for a payday. He was drawing early comparisons to Charles Barkley, and he wanted a new $100 million contract. But the Nuggets front office didn't think he was that type of player worthy of that contract, so they shipped him off to Phoenix in a 3-team deal during the offseason. He came into a situation with the Suns where there was a lot of talent on the squad for the 97-98 season. They had 3 point guards with Jason Kidd, Steve Nash, and Kevin Johnson, and to add to that, they had Rex Chapman, Clifford Robinson, Cedric Sabalas, Dennis Scott, and Danny Madden to go along with McDyess. Point is, there was a lot of mouths to feed, so even though he was getting better point guard play than in Denver, his minutes decreased and he didn't take the all-star leap that he was hoping for. but he would have some big games throughout the season, including a 37-12 game late in the season. He finished the season averaging 15.7 rebounds and almost 2 blocks a game. The team was 56-26 and finished 4th in the Western Conference, but they would lose to the Spurs in the first round after Sixth Man of the Year Danny Manning tore his ACL. During the lockout short and off season, Dice was a free agent with 2 main destinations: either go back to Phoenix or he could return to Denver, a place that he loved and didn't want to leave, even though during the 98 season he said there was no way he was going back to Denver after they traded him. Honestly, there's a funny backstory behind his free agency decision. The Nuggets basically pulled a DeAndre Jordan, lock the door and don't let them in technique on the Suns, but I'll dive into that in another video. But Antonio would end up signing with the Nuggets for 5 years, $56 million. In the 98-99 lockout season, McDyess would have one of the best years of his career, averaging 21 points, almost 11 rebounds, 1.5 steals, and 2 blocks. The Nuggets would have a bad year team-wise, going 14-36 with a young team, but McDyess's stats finally got their recognition. He earned an All-NBA third team nod, and this will be the first season he was one of 6 to average 20 and 10, but was only one of 2 to average 20 points, 10 rebounds, 2 blocks, and a steal, with the other being Chris Webber, and he would become the third Nugget to average 20 and 10. The next year, Dice would still put up good stats, averaging 19 points, 8.5 rebounds, almost 2 blocks, and a steal a game, and the team would win a few more games, but not enough to make the playoffs. But during the summer of 2000, Tim Duncan opted out of the Olympics due to injury, and Antonio McDyess was called upon to replace him, which was big for his confidence. It was good to be in a winning environment, which he rarely seen, and he was going against high-level competition on the daily. The USA would win gold, and McDyess carried that high into the season. He would have his best overall season in terms of individual and team success. He averaged 21 points, 12 rebounds, and 1.5 blocks, having some huge games throughout the season. I mean, just look at the stats. He had a 40-20 game, 37-17, 37-18, 30-21, a 24-21, and 18-13 and 7 blocks. He was one of the most dominant bigs in the NBA. Dice would be a top 20 scorer in the league and a top 5 rebounder, and would be selected to his first All-Star game. The team would go 40-42 and miss the playoffs, but it was Dice's best season with the Nuggets. Everything looked up for Antonio for the 2001 season, but unfortunately, this will be Antonio's last healthy prime season. 10 games into the 01-02 season, he suffered a patellar tendon rupture that required season-ending surgery. McDyess struggled to play through the injury the next year, re-aggravating it several times and going through additional surgeries. During the 2002 offseason, McDyess was traded to the New York Knicks, but got hurt with almost 2 minutes left in an exhibition game, so he would miss the entire 2002-03 season. Halfway through the 03-04 season, McDyess was traded back to the Suns in a Stephon Marbury 8-player deal. He remained healthy for the rest of the season and was declared healthy by doctors during the offseason, and the Pistons would be the team to take a chance on him. At this point, with so many knee injuries and surgeries, McDyess lost most of the athleticism that made him an All-NBA and All-Star player. But in this move to the Pistons, McDyess would successfully reinvent himself, becoming the ultimate role player. He relied mostly on his mid-range and turnaround jumpers, but remained an efficient scorer, averaging almost 10 points, 6 rebounds on 51% shooting, and helped the Pistons win the Eastern Conference before losing to the Spurs in the finals in 7 games. He was a dependable 6th man for Detroit, playing in all 82 games the next 2 years. In 2007 and 2008, McDyess became the starting power forward for the Pistons. His last 2 years, from 2009 to 2011, he played with the Spurs, where he was the starting center next to Tim Duncan. Antonio McDyess is a name that is forgotten when looking back on the NBA, but he was an All-NBA player, an All-Star, All-Rookie, and an Olympic Gold Medalist. He was really Amari Stoudemire before Amari. He was a 20-10 machine whose game was compared to many greats with his freak athleticism, his defense, and his scoring ability. If you take one thing away from this video, remember Antonio McDyess as the forgotten beast. I just want to thank you guys for watching. If you got all the way to the end, I really rock with you. If this is your first time on the channel, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. Follow me on Twitter and definitely let me know what you would like to see next. Also, I would love for you guys to check out my sports and entertainment podcast, the Q&E podcast. We review movies and TV shows as well, so definitely check us out. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Links in the description. And we out. Peace.